Good morning, and on my table today I've got my OS Max 50 FSR engine, and this is part 2 of the look inside because there needed to be a part 2 because I broke the ring when I was reassembling, trying to reassemble this engine on the last one. So you can go watch that first video and see exactly why the ring broke. But what I've got here is my engine, mostly disassembled, still in the box. But I also want to show you this first. I purchased a new ring. Now, I couldn't get a new ring from OS, but what I did was I got a ring from a company titled RMJ Machine Works. And it came with this nice holographic decal. Now, RMJ Machine Works is run by Bjorn Ball, who took over Frank Bowman's ring making business. And that took place in 2017, and in fact I think I bought a ring from Bjorn back then. So it came with this invoice, which is a nice, it's always good to have an invoice, but it's very nice because it came with a card and a hand-signed note saying, "Thank you for your business, Emily and Bjorn." Now, you can see it's a 50 FSR Dykes ring, and I purchased the pre-gapped ring as opposed to the ungapped. I didn't feel up to trying to gap it myself, and if he's making these rings to the OS specification, a gapped ring should be fine. But this is this is why I like to buy ringed engines, because you can always get new rings, especially now that Bjorn has created this company and is making rings. And here's how the ring came. Let me show you how it arrived. It arrives in this nice piece of PVC cut and then taped and secured in packaging like this. So it's very safe. Let me see if I can, and this is just painter's tape, so it's not super adhesive. So here is our ring. Now I'm going to pull the engine out and assemble, or at least reinstall the ring and get this engine reassembled again. I'm not going to do the crankcase for now. Now, the one thing I did not purchase is I forgot to purchase a new gasket, which is not a big deal because I can always get one from eBay without any issues at all. And it's really not going to affect me running this for the first time either. So here's all the pieces out, and here's my broken ring. Now, I have not done a whole lot of ring replacements on engines. In fact, this is probably only about the third time I've done it, which maybe explains why I broke this one to begin with. So I've got my sleeve here. Let me zoom in just a bit more. Piston and sleeve. Now, on the cylinder here, the sleeve, this is the exhaust ports. These two ports here are the exhaust ports, and as I said in that first video, you'll be able to see this. There's an arrow on the top of the piston. We're trying to get that so you can see it. That arrow points towards the exhaust. Now, what I've also got shown here, I put in Sharpie marker on the top of the piston. There's a little bitty pin there. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on this lens that I've got here, but that's where the ring gap goes. So the first thing I'm going to do here is put some oil all on this piston. And that's just 3-in-1 oil I'm using there. Now I'm going to very carefully take this ring out here now that I've got oily fingers. It's going to make opening this bag a little more challenging. Here's our ring. I'm going to just oil this ring up too. Like I said, I'm not real well versed on ring installation. I've done it a couple times on 4-strokes. And I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but because this sits on the top of a piston, the ring is L-shaped. And that L goes downward on the bottom of the piston because there's that groove. So the opening of the ring will be on top. So what I've got here is I'm going to be putting it on just like this. I've got my ring gap here. What I'm going to do is just very gently primarily position it and then just kind of work this ring around and pop it onto the now it's in place and it's in proper position here. Due to the lighting, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that or not. There's the mark on the top of my, get down, please. I think you can see the gap in that piston there too. So that is the proper orientation. And you can see, I think you can see as I squeeze that, a little bit of oil is oozing out. So now what I'm going to do is put this, a little bit of oil in here. I'm going to install my connecting rod or piston assembly with the orientation of arrow on the top of the piston going that way, which also means the chamfered side of my connecting rod goes here. And I have to do this so that I can see it and not necessarily you. Now it's kind of on there. I'm going to wiggle it now. It's just fully seated on there. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of oil, which probably already was there, around the top, inside, coat the inside of this cylinder, and additionally coat the outside and the inside. So in theory, all I should have to do now is line this up and just gently twist to get this sleeve to seat over that piston. And it looks like that's all it took. So it's in there. Now all I got to do is make sure that I have my exhaust ports lined up exactly as they're supposed to be. And exhaust ports are lined up. Hopefully you can see the piston gap is going to be here, and that's on a section of the sleeve that doesn't have any ports. So that's all there is to installing this ring in the piston. Now, I believe it's probably more common practice on automobiles and maybe those really die-hard people on airplane engines, especially maybe four-strokes. I don't know. I'm not that familiar. Typically, I think when you replace a ring, you'd hone the sleeve just a little bit to get any residue off there so that the sleeve can, or the ring can seat and machine itself into place. I didn't feel that was necessary here because this sleeve was in such perfect condition. It didn't have any swirling or anything on it, and I also don't have a honing tool or any fine grit sandpaper that I could use as that. So the risk I'm taking here is that I'm just gonna do it like this. Now, since it's got a new ring in here, I'm going to have to treat the first runs like break-in runs. So that is, I'm not going to go into going ahead and putting the head back on and the rear cover back on now for time purposes. But that is how you install a Dykes ring, and now this engine will be operational once again. And I can say thanks to RMJ Machine Works. I'm not, Bjorn doesn't know I'm making this video or saying this. I'm not sponsored by Bjorn, but all I can say is if you want rings for your engines, he's got a fantastic supply. He does great work, and it was very fast. I got this thing almost immediately, like within 3 days. So I think he probably has a lot of different rings already made up, but his website is extensive, and I got this very quickly. He obviously had it in stock. and as you can see, it's a perfect fit. So the next thing you'll see, next video you see with this engine will be on the test stand.